Well, kia ora everybody. We'll get the presentation underway. So welcome to the second in a series of mental health and wellbeing seminars brought to you by Site Safe New Zealand and the New Zealand Institute of Building. My name's Brett Murray and I am the Chief Executive of Site Safe. I just want to acknowledge NZIOB for their efforts in putting this on and assisting with behind the scenes logistics. This is the second in a series of 6 seminars, webinars rather, and we're going to be alternating between NZIOB and Site Safe. So riding on the success of last week's webinar with Kyle McWilliams, this week we've achieved a fantastic 600 plus count, which is really great, and it really shows a positive indication of not only the stressful environment that we're in currently, but also people are quite thirsty for knowledge of how to support their staff and their people as in this time of crisis and ongoing. So we're going to share some real success stories from business owners and the systems they put in place to manage health and safety. We're going to be talking about using the 5 ways of wellbeing through the Mental Health Foundation. And before I hand over to Ronald, I'd just like to advise that NZIOB we're putting on a further wellbeing webinar next week. I'll mention a bit more about that at the end, just to reference that. And following that, Site Safe will also on the 6th of May continue with another webinar on how to start conversations about mental health and wellbeing. At the end of today's webinar, we'll also be joined by Bermafor Pelletti from Mates in Construction, or B as he's more colloquially known. He's going to explain why it's important to build mental health and suicide prevention support into site induction, toolbox talks and briefing. And I actually attended a briefing yesterday by Mates in Construction where they launched their resource that will help you with that and the return to work after lockdown. So without further delays, please let me introduce everyone to our own resident health and safety expert, Ronald Williams. And if you have any questions for Ronald, please use the chat function at the bottom of your screen and Ronald will address these at the end of the session. Over to you, Ron.
Thank you very much, Brett, and thank you, Site Safe, for allowing me to run this very important webinar on mental health and well-being. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, nā mai, ku Ronald tuka ingua. Greetings, greetings, greetings to you all. Welcome. My name is Ronald Williams. There are a couple of things I want to share with you today. Ooh. Thank you very much, Brett, and thank you, Site Safe, for allowing me to run this very important webinar on mental health and well-being. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, nā mai, ku Ronald toku ingua. Greetings, greetings, greetings to you all. Welcome. My name is Ronald Williams. There are a couple of things I would like to do today. One is to start off by sharing some context with you about stress and the effects it will have on your body and might have on your body. Secondly, I want to share with you some successful stories that we have for you, as well as my own success story. Thirdly, I want to share with you the 5 ways to well-being, and then we'll do some question and answers. If I can request that we put all our questions in the question and A box, and I will attend to them as soon as I can through the course, obviously, and otherwise at the end. At this stage, I want to say that I will also be forwarding some question answers back to you, to the ones that I could not answer, maybe by the end of today's webinar. This, as well as other links that will be very useful for you to use, I will be discussing them today, will be available for you as well by tomorrow. So let's start off with stress. What is stress? Stress is not a disease. It's a natural reaction to excessive pressure and can lead to either an improved performance or an onset of physical and psychological illnesses. Stress is the body's reaction to any change that requires an adjustment or response. The body reacts to these changes with physical, mental, or emotional response. In a medical context, stress is a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. We require a certain amount of stress to motivate us to get out of bed in the mornings and to perform our daily routines. So not all stress is negative. But as you will see as we continue, most effects of stress, especially at this time, are very negative. Stress is a feeling of mental, emotional, or physical tension. It can come in any form and event and thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or even nervous. Stress usually occurs when people feel that they are losing control of a situation. In the workplace, this usually results in the employee no longer feeling that they can cope with the demands made on them. Stress is a normal part of life. Anything that puts a high demand on you can be stressful. The situation and pressure that causes stress are known as stressors. We normally think of stressors as being very negative, such as an exhausting work schedule, for example, or a rocky relationship. The reality is that even positive life changes, such as a promotion, having a mortgage, the birth of a child can produce stress and become a stressor. So what are the common causes of stress and stressors? Common causes of stress can be any of the following or a combination of more than one of the following, and I'll mention a couple to you. It can be the job itself. So there we're looking at maybe having insufficient skills for the job and not having the right resources to do the job. We look at the working environment and conditions. There we're thinking about long hours. Maybe the conditions are very hot, cold, windy, wet. Maybe you have some tight deadlines. Workplace relationship. There we're looking at examples such as harassment, bullying, conflict with co-workers, conflict with supervisors. Personal life stresses. We all know how it feels when you have an argument with one of your loved ones. And at the moment, COVID-19 is a stressor. I don't think anybody listening to this webinar would have expected the situation we find ourselves in at this moment in time. COVID-19 Alert Level 4 lockdown created an opportunity that can only be described as a perfect storm. We went from having control and freedom to a situation of forced isolation where we lost our freedom of movement and control. We went from running a business with a reasonable amount of certainty to closing our business doors where we found ourselves in uncertain times. We went from our daily face-to-face meetings with workers and customers to meeting through emails, Zoom meetings, telephone calls. We went from a clean and healthy environment where a global pandemic was unthinkable, unrealistic, unthought for, to living in a global virus pandemic where you fear and worry about your health all the time. Common phrases such as see you tomorrow, pop in any time, see you at the beach, made way for stay in your bubble, stay home, save lives. Yesterday you were the mum and the dad, and maybe you had to combine that role with being a worker or a business owner. Today you're not just a mum and a dad, but you're also the chef, the cleaner, the gardener, the teacher, the friend, the playmate, the organizer of activities at home. Yesterday, your home was your sanctuary, your place to relax, your breathing space. Today, your home is an office, a classroom, a playground, your bubble to ensure safety. So what are the effects of stress on the human body? There's actually quite a bit of them, and I'll start by summarizing for you as best I can. The brain and the central nervous system. Stress can cause havoc to your brain and central nervous system. Now, just a quick explanation for those of you who don't know. The central nervous system is responsible for integrating sensory information and responding accordingly. It's the communication system between your brain and your body, and obviously vice versa as well. Stress can cause headaches, a feeling of despair, a lack of energy, nervousness, trouble concentrating, and mental health problems, for example, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, as well as memory problems. On your skin, stress can cause acne, and also conditions such as rosacea. For your muscles and joints, stress can cause muscular aches and tension in the neck, the shoulders, the back. It can increase the risk of reduced bone density, which can lead to osteoporosis. There's no good news for your heart either. Stress can cause a faster heartbeat, a rise in blood pressure, an increased risk of high cholesterol, and even heart attacks. For your stomach, stress can cause nausea, stomach pain, heartburn, weight gain. On your pancreas, stress can cause an increased risk of diabetes. For your intestines, stress can cause diarrhea, constipation, and other digestive problems. It can also play a massive havoc on your reproductive system, especially if you're planning on extending the family. Women can experience a reduced sexual drive as well as more painful periods, while men can experience impotence as well as a reduction in sexual drive. Very important with the current situation and the approaching flu season is that stress can suppress your immune system, causing frequent colds and infection of the body. Common signs to look out for when somebody is experiencing stress or will be experiencing some stresses will be depression, anger, restlessness, drugs and alcohol addiction or maybe even misuse, a strain on relationship, or maybe a change in behavior. So how do we manage stress? The topic that I want to talk about will be the key strategies on how we can manage stress more effectively. It starts with everybody doing their part. To collectively ensure that we manage the health and well-being of ourselves, if we are workers, and the health and well-being of your staff, if you're employing workers. So let's have a look at some legislation. What will a webinar be without a little bit of legislation? Now, I'm promising I'm not going into too much detail, but it's important that we all understand that we all have a responsibility. Whether you are a worker, a contractor, officer of a company, you are self-employed, we all have a duty under the Health and Safety at Work Act of 2015. Workplace stress has no specific health and safety legislation, although it's covered by the Health and Safety at Work Act of 2015 and the General Risk and Workplace Management Regulation of 2016. Under Section 30 of the Health and Safety at Work Act, a PCBU, your company, has a duty to manage all risk as far as reasonably practicable. And under Section 36 of the HASWA, it says that a PCBU has a primary duty of care to ensure as far as reasonably practicable the health and safety of workers. Section 45 says that each and every worker has a responsibility to take care of their own health and safety and those of others that they work with. Section 45 goes further and says that workers further has to comply to any reasonable policy, procedure or instruction from the company that they deem necessary to ensure your health and safety. Regulation 5 of the General Risk and Workplace Management Regulation of 2016 places a duty on a PCBU managing risks to identify the hazards that could give rise to reasonably foreseeable risk to health and safety by using the hierarchy of controls as outlined in Regulation 6. The terms eliminate and minimize means the same for stresses as they would for any other workplace hazards, and they should be explored in that order of priority as well. Allow me to refresh your memory. The hierarchy of controls starts with elimination, and if that is not possible, we need to minimize by substituting, isolating, or applying engineering controls, followed by administrative controls and the wearing of personal protective equipment. How can we use the hierarchy of controls to manage health stress? Well, eliminating means a stressor must be removed altogether. Isolating the stressor means regulating and limiting employees' exposure to it, either by limiting the time of exposure or by limiting the exposure to people or groups of people specially selected or trained for the work. Minimizing the stressor means reducing its extent and impact which people are exposed to it. Preventative strategies from the person conducting the business or undertaking, also called the PCBU. What can businesses do to play their part in health and safety? Businesses can start by thinking about and implementing the following principles and strategies after careful consideration and consultation with their workers. Businesses can start to think about a positive attitude to stress and issues by becoming familiar with the causes and control strategies. Businesses can work in partnership to manage expectations. Businesses must involve workers to create a safe working environment. They should take employees' concerns seriously by making a counseling system available, which is confidential and designed to support employees to cope with stresses. Develop an effective system for communication and consultation to minimize periods of uncertainty. Set out an example of policy of workplace stress, including stress within risk assessments. Develop an effective employee appraisal system which includes mutually agreed objectives. Businesses should also plan activities to avoid work overload, discourage employees from working excessive hours and missing their rest breaks. Encourage employees to improve their lifestyle, such as stop smoking services, maybe fitness assessments and health assessments. We need to monitor incidents of bullying, sexual and racial harassment, and introduce a fair disciplinary system. Businesses must avoid creating a blame culture for accidents, incidents, and ill health. Preventative strategies for the worker. As said before, everybody has a role to play in the health and safety, and workers are no exception. So, what can workers think about and do in order to assist themselves and their companies to play their part in preventing stresses in the workplace? Well, workers can start by taking care of themselves too, not just at work, but also at home. Workers can eat a healthy diet and exercise regularly. Ever heard the saying, healthy body, healthy mind? Ever thought, what does it mean? It means that you should not let sickness, depression, and disease take you out. Eat healthier, speak healthier over your life. When you do, you will soon begin to conquer your life and your health through newfound empowerment, the mind, the body, and the spirit. Make sure you get enough quality sleep every day. If you feel you struggle, talk to a workmate that you trust. You can also seek professional help, which we will talk about a bit later. You can also talk to a manager and supervisor you trust at work. Please, one request, never take your stress home. Don't take out your anger and frustration on your family. If you have a health and safety representative, you can talk to them for assistance as well. Please remember that the approach used will depend on the resources available, the category the work falls into, and what you are aiming to achieve. Employees from all levels of the organization should be involved in the development of solutions that are specific to each workplace. All staff have a part to play in managing and preventing workplace stresses. We are starting now on the slides of ways to well-being. There's 5 ways to well-being, and they're very simple. And you can make it part of your daily life, at work and at home, to build resilience, boost your well-being, lower your risk of developing mental health problems. These simple actions are all known as the 5 ways to well-being. They help people take care of themselves, their mental health, as well as their well-being at home and at work. Regularly practicing the 5 ways is beneficial for everyone, whether you have a mental problem or not. It starts with giving. Carrying out acts of kindness, whether small or large, can increase happiness, life satisfaction, and a general sense of well-being. Give your time, your words, your presence. Do something nice for a teammate. Hug your wife, your husband, your partner, your kids. Obviously, as long as they're in your bubble at this moment. Thank someone. Volunteer your time. The next one, to be active. Being physically active includes at work, improves physical health and can improve your mood and well-being and decrease your stress, depression, and anxiety. Do what you can, enjoy what you do, move your mood, be active. Go for a walk, go for a run, step outside, go digging in the garden, pull some weeds, play a game. The third way to well-being is to keep learning. Being curious and seeking out new experiences at work and in life positively stimulates the brain. Embrace new experiences, see opportunities, surprise yourself, take on a new responsibility at work. The next step to well-being is to take notice. Paying more attention to the present moment, to thoughts and feelings, and to the world around you boosts our well-being. Remember the simple things that gives you joy. Remark on the unusual. Notice the changing seasons. Savor the moment. The last way to well-being is to connect. Strengthening relationships with others and feeling close to and valued by others in the workplace is critical to boosting your well-being. Talk and listen to your family, friends, colleagues, and neighbors. Be there and feel connected. So while we're on the subject of connect, how can we ensure that we remain connected with one another during this time? Workers and management must be committed and engaged to achieve a healthy workplace. With workers and management supporting actions to improve the culture and mental health of the workplace, it is more likely to be effective. If leaders and managers also model the behavior, it makes the message more attainable and real for workers. Now we have been talking about the 5 ways to your well-being. I now want to empower you even more. I want to share with you how you can champion the 5 ways. The first step is to create a shared sense of purpose by clearly communicating your vision for a mentally healthy team or workplace and inviting people along for the journey. Ever wondered why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth? It is for you to listen. And I mean really listen. We have 2 ears to listen, to understand. You don't have 2 ears to respond. Ask your team what they think about the 5 ways to well-being and really take notice and take on board what they say. Actively promote and support your people and teams to participate in the 5 ways. Managers and workers, you need to set the tone. Champion the 5 ways through staff emails, staff meetings, notice boards, staff Facebook page, finding an opportunity to speak about it and participating in activities. Another way to champion the 5 ways is to be a role model. We all need to lead by example. Be a role model for others and introduce the 5 ways into your life. Be the best leader you can be with the 5 ways. Value your people. Take notice of people's efforts and hard work. Don't forget to thank them. Ask yourself if the work environment is pleasant to work in. Give credit where it's due. Create a culture of continual learning. Provide opportunities for people to grow and to keep learning. Strengthen relationships and build your trust. Take a moment every day to chat and connect with your people. Ask yourself if there's an environment of respect amongst your teammates. Ask yourself if your supervisors and managers have a good and supportive relationship with their staff. Are there systems in place for managing interpersonal conflict? Are there clear policies and procedures to prevent bullying, harassment, and discrimination, including mental illness, stigma, and discrimination? Do staff know about these? And finally, find your balance. Schedule times in your diary to exercise and be active. Make yourself available to your people. Give your time. What can workers do from their side to assist even more? If you are a worker, please do not ignore your manager. Connect with them. Ask them if they have applied for the wage subsidy. We know that we are all in very uncertain times. Do not expect to get an answer for all your questions. We're going to be moving into the case studies from businesses owners where the above principles were implemented and it worked successfully. Now, as a trainer, I have presented many courses before, and I can bet you my bottom dollar that there's somebody out there listening now to this webinar thinking, it is all well and good, but it sounds a bit too good to be true. Does it really work? I want to share with you 3 success stories where the implementation of the 5 ways to well-being worked, and it worked well. The interviews are all available on our website for you, and we'll be able to give it to you tomorrow with the download that we'll send out tomorrow. My first success story starts with Paul Lynch. Paul Lynch, who runs a carpet and vinyl lane business in Christchurch, lost his younger brother Brett, also a tradie, to suicide in 2013. Paul struggled to cope with his loss, initially using alcohol as a coping tool. Almost 3.5 years ago, Paul quit drinking and alcohol completely. Since then, he has focused his efforts on mental well-being and suicide prevention within his own business. Paul had the following to say about his path to well-being. Men are not talking about the little things. Initially, they don't know who to talk to, but mostly because they fear of being the butt of the smoker room jokes. Behind the macho, hard man, testosterone-fueled facade, there is an underlying fear of being ridiculed, and that needs to change. It's important for guys not to only be prepared to talk, but also to be prepared to listen without judgment. If we can get tradies talking about the little things, these little things won't build into massive pressurized time bombs. Every Monday morning, I have an unofficial toolbox talk with my employees where we simply share whatever is going on in the form of a very informal discussion. I open myself up and say how it is, which probably isn't the typical mental health message people are used to hearing, but it's one that male tradies find relatable. It's a chat to let you know and your mates know that you are available. If they want to talk, you just need to ask them the question, are you okay? For me, it's about encouraging people to talk about the little things as they happen, rather than allowing the little things to build up into an enormous burden that gets too heavy to carry, sending them into a crisis. Suicide is not a problem. Suicide is a result of the problems. The next case study is Greg Bullock. Now, Greg is a training advisor for building apprentices, and he has spoken about the effects of depression had on his life. After struggling with depression for 6 or 7 years, his business was hit by the global financial crisis. He reached rock bottom on the 13th of March 2010. On this date, his mother's birthday, he considered taking his own life. Luckily, his brother checked in on him that afternoon. He opened up to his brother, and this changed the course of his life forever. Thinking back, Greg explains that he saw the following danger signs, such as being withdrawn, making excuses not to meet with friends and family. He lost his passion for sports. He became aggressive. Greg has the following advice for people. Connect with people and talk openly to them. Make use of counseling options that are available. Bring structures back into your life. He also has some advice for workers. Break down the stigma of hardening up or take a concrete pill. Start connecting with other people. Give a bit of your time. And remember, it is never weak to speak. The third case study is about the Crowleys. Now, Dave and Nikki Crowley ran Scafeed, a scaffolding company based in Palmerston North and Whanganui that employs around 60 people. Dave originally trained in agriculture at Massey University, and Nikki a former nurse. They founded a company in 2005, and they put in place a tikanga called the Scafeed Way. The Scafeed Way is not only about providing professional services to customers. They also have a solid vision of safety, quality, customer service, and support for their staff, from providing free breakfast and quality gear, through to health and physio services, and even insurance cover for peace of mind. Scaffolding is hard work, and Dave and Nikki ensures that their team have all the support they need to get through the day and many other parts of their lives. We've tried to create a really strong family culture, which is very much based on trust, says Nikki. It's created a place where workers want to come to work and where they know if they do the mahi, they will always be valued as Scafeed. While they were always workers, health and well-being in the forefront, being a business owner can also be tough, and sometimes we forget that. So Dave and Nikki share with us some of the challenges and tools they use to protect their own mental well-being. According to Dave, there are the following stresses on businesses and on him as a manager. Dave explains that leadership can be very lonely. Dave explains that he has 3 big stresses. 1, not having enough capital to pay the bills. 2, whether he's making the correct business decisions. And 3, whether the company is employing the right people. Dave started connecting with other businesses owners and joined a support network for business professionals called CQ for Business Professionals. He regularly connects with his wife and have discussions on decisions that he makes. My own personal story. Stress has become such a dominant part of everyday life that most people assume that it's just a normal, natural condition. From busy work lives to hectic family schedules, we deal with stressful situations so regularly that it's become a commonplace. I want to share with you a last story, my story, a true story of my experience with workers' mental health. I was a police officer in South Africa for 26 years. In my career, I have worked with different people in different environments. You see the good, the bad, and the ugly of society firsthand. In 1992, I was 18 years old when I joined the police. I was eager to learn and loved my job. My job became my life in such a way that I even worked for free on my off time. I worked full-time at the police station and worked on my off days at the first responder unit called Flying Squad on my rest days. Thinking back to those days, the culture was already established. Common phrases I regularly heard was, "This job is not for the weak. Harden up, boy. It's just part of the job." The one phrase that stood out for me as being used the most at the time was, "If you can't cope, join the weak ones in the office and become a pin pusher." Now that was just referring to the people working in the administration offices and not operational people. I was young and did not know any better. But this story is not about me and the effects that work and stress at work placed on me. I was fortunate enough to meet a commander in 1999 that changed my way of thinking and working when he introduced me to the 5 ways to well-being. This story is about other people and the difference one person can make. The one person in this story was me, and I want to fast forward my story to 2002. In 2002, I applied for a position of relief commander for police officers. It was a new unit, and I was warned at the interview that the majority of the recruited police members were negative and hard to manage, as they did not want to be at this new unit. I was told that the misuse of alcohol, absenteeism, and compliance to instructions was a huge challenge. I was asked how I would change this culture. What will I do if I get the cooperation and the participation from the police officers? Of course, I had all the answers. I already knew about the 5 ways to well-being. I have already seen the benefits of it when implemented. I was up for this challenge. After a few weeks, I was told that I got the position. I was given a shift of 108 employees, police officers. On my first day, I was shocked to see only about 40 faces in front of me. I will not go into too much details. Let me just say, at least another 10 or 15 was not fit for work, and I had to send them home. I started using the principles of the 5 ways to well-being with my relief. I started connecting. I connected with them by having daily on-duty parades as well as off-duty parades. Now, to explain, a duty parade is very similar to a toolbox where you just discuss today's activities and what's the expectations for today. I made it very clear what my expectations was towards health and safety in the workplace and that everybody needed to participate. We started having weekly relief meetings after our last shift to give everybody an opportunity to talk freely about problems experienced in the work period. It was an open, no blame discussion where rank did not count. It also connected the lower ranking officers with the senior ranking officers. My idea with this was that nobody would go home with something on their minds bothering them or building up in them. It also gave me an indication of the relationship between workers and commanders and to rectify any challenges between them. I started connecting with the absent from work police officers, visiting them at their homes, meeting with their families and arranging the necessary professional services. I gave everybody responsibilities according to their ranks and experiences. This caused me to start with learning development, and luckily for me as a trainer, I had plenty of content and started presenting a variety of police courses. Even if something was the responsibility of somebody, I would thank them after they gave me feedback. To appreciate costs nothing. To say thank you takes no time. I wanted to be a good role model for my members. I would always tell them that they must do as I do. If they were not sure whether something is acceptable behavior, I told them, just look at me and do as I do. Setting the tone starts with the manager. We needed to find balance in the working day, so I decided to start with a regular exercise program. As a personal trainer, I would set up a boot camp track with some props and weights and get everybody, those on break obviously, involved. It became so popular that I had to split the break times up to have 2 to even 3 boot camp sessions a day. My members started changing, and I started to see the benefits of the 5 ways. They started talking to other members of other reliefs as well. Soon after, there was some unhappiness on the other reliefs that they were left out. This was the moment I have been waiting for. This was my opportunity. I knew that the other 3 reliefs would see the change and be eager for intervention in their relief. I set up a meeting with the manager and the other 3 relief commanders, and I proposed a plan which they all bought into. I started the sports club at the unit and got other members involved in our exercises, and we started having sports competition between reliefs. I started training other reliefs commanders and members in police courses. I would share my members with other reliefs to assist them in implementing procedures and rules we already had on my relief. Within 6 months, the change in the culture was a complete turnaround. The unit went from being a negative to a productive team. A lack of compliance made way for cooperation and engagement. Absenteeism went down from an average of 50% per shift to less than 5%. Morale went from a 0 to high, with members happy to be at this unit. We went from failing our internal policies and police inspections to passing it. We went from a unit where everybody wanted to leave to becoming a unit where everybody wanted to stay. We found ourselves in a situation where members from outside units wanted to swap with our members from our unit just to be a part of this culture. The response was drastic and more than what my manager could ever have imagined. Needless to say, he saw the benefits of the 5 ways to well-being and supported it fully. Looking back, I saw the benefits of using the 5 ways to well-being in my career repeatedly. You don't have to be trained for it. You don't have to be a counselor. All you need is the right attitude. As a final thought, I want to share with you this personal finding. I've presented many workshops to police officers to assist them in recognizing the signs and symptoms of stress. And one of the biggest misconceptions I found when I had those discussions with them was on the following question. And I'm going to ask it to you, and I want you to think about it. If you don't show any symptoms of stress, you must be fine. What do you think? 95% of the time, people responded with a yes. Yes, you are fine. The truth is that stress can be there, but you cannot always see it. When you talk to people and they look okay to you, please still ask them, are you okay? What businesses can do to reduce anxiety in stressful workers during COVID-19? As you all know, the construction industry is tooling up to get back to work as soon as possible, drafting a health and safety framework which will help keep workers and the public safe from COVID-19. You will recall I have been talking about the 5 ways to well-being and what businesses can do to connect. I want to say that today I'm proud to be a part of the construction industry. COVID-19 has hit our industry hard, and the effects of stopping all construction deemed not essential had a massive influence on everybody involved in the construction line. We have been talking about connecting, giving, learning, be active, and take notice. I want to share with you the following, and I want you to focus on how our industry have been championing the 5 ways to well-being. I'm going to quote a couple of sector leaders and industry leaders with this, and it will be made available for you as well tomorrow when we send everything out. Chief Executive of Naylor Love and Construction Sector Accord member Rick Hurd says, throughout the lockout, industry leaders have been working hard behind the scenes to pull together the health and safety information, vital getting sites safely up and running as soon as we get the green light from government. SiteSafe Chief Executive Brett Murray says the industry has come together to produce this framework, and the work has involved the civil, vertical, and residential sectors, health and safety organizations, Construction Health and Safety New Zealand, and SiteSafe. We want our members to be able to get to work as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. The framework that has been developed, which consists of a set of standards and a set of protocols, is in accordance with official advice and will ensure workers, their farmers, and the community are kept as safe as possible. Industry standard setting CHAS New Zealand, in consultation with industry, has developed an overarching standard to help control the risk of COVID-19. CHAS New Zealand Chief Executive Chris Alderson says that the protocols developed by industry and by SiteSafe and the protocols developed by the residential leaders will sit underneath that standard and will essentially form the detailed how-to guidance on managing COVID-19 risks on construction sites around the country. With input from around 50 businesses, including some of New Zealand's largest constructors, civil contractors, the vertical leaders group, residential leaders, subject matter experts and unions, the framework has been endorsed by the Construction Sector Accord and is being welcomed by those in the civil, vertical and residential sector. Civil Contractors New Zealand Chief Executive Peter Silcock says that we need to be clear on how to keep our people and the public safe. We welcome this framework and we believe it will effectively mitigate the risk of COVID-19. Registered Master Builder Association Chief Executive David Kelly welcomes the framework and says these documents will be crucial for many residential builders looking for guidance on what comes next and how to do their bit. This framework will help to provide some certainty for our members. It's critical that everyone in the industry follows the right processes that have been agreed by in this guidance. We need to demonstrate that we, as an industry, can work safely, as no one wants to see us returning to level 4. And that means the whole of the industry needs to work together on this one. The following information is important. There is so much information available and just not enough time for me to cover it all fully. However, I thought it would be very wise for me to point out the following. Businesses need to consider the fact that workers will be concerned about their health and safety on returning to work. Workers will be returning home after work, and they will be concerned about the welfare of their families and farmers. Not knowing and not understanding can be stressful and become a stressor to workers. Businesses will need to manage the risk that comes with returning to work of their workers and the risk that COVID-19 can pose to sites. Uncertainty and not knowing what to do or what is expected will instill fear in workers and in companies. These protocols were developed through a collective effort of engagement and participation by the construction industry, and they will be available for you as well tomorrow. I would really encourage each person participating in today's webinar to read more on the following information when available tomorrow. Please follow the links and read the information when you have available time. I am convinced that you will find the links very useful and very informative. The following protocols are available. The first protocol is on physical distancing and hygiene. The second protocol is on site transportation. And the last protocol will be the manager's checklist. You'll also find some good guidance on very important matters such as cleaning guides, a return to home after work guideline, a response plan, as well as a sign-in register. You will also find some good signage that can be used on personal health. The above protocols, guides, registers, and signage are all worked into the 5-step guide for returning to work on level 3. And I want to share with you quickly the 5 steps. Step 1, before arriving on site. Wherever possible, conduct a remote induction through telephone or video conference induction before arriving on site. If not possible, remember physical distancing and hygiene protocol. This protocol covers a lot of the general concerns workers might have when returning to work. This protocol will cover the following: site entry arrangements, eating arrangements, changing facilities, showers and drying rooms, site meetings, toilets facilities, smoke breaks, hand washing and general hygiene. All workers should follow the personal health flowchart that confirms that you are safe to be on site. The flowchart will ask you questions if you are feeling well or not feeling well, and what you should do in both circumstances. Employers must understand how workers will travel to and from sites and how deliveries to the site will be managed. Basic hygiene measures for everyone include physical distancing, good hand job hygiene, a cough etiquette, regular cleaning of surfaces, and frequently touched items, avoiding touching the face, the eyes, the mouth, and the nose. Step 2 will talk about site entry. Site entry must be strictly controlled with only relevant personnel allowed on the site. A daily register of workers entering and leaving the site must be completed, along with a health declaration. If you don't have one, the link will take you to an example of a signing register that you can use. If electronic signing machines are used, these must be cleaned and sanitized after each use. Don't forget to put in place administrative controls, for examples, posters, reminding workers of COVID-19 physical distancing and hygiene protocols, especially at the site entrance, as well as all the common areas where appropriate. We have some posters on washing hands, protecting yourself and your workmates during COVID-19, and posters on stopping the spread of COVID-19 that can be used. Step 3 will move forward to focusing on site operations. The focus here is on physical distancing. All work to be undertaken in such a way to reduce any possible contact between workers and to promote physical distancing where possible, as per the physical distancing and hygiene protocol. All visitors to sites, and here we are talking about only the necessary delivery workers maybe, will be restricted to 1 person where possible. These workers must follow the site transportation protocols. All offices and job sites must implement cleaning measures as per the cleaning guide protocols. These protocols will assist you on your questions on key cleaning tips for cleaning your tools, cleaning your equipment, your vehicle, your personal protective equipment. The protocol will also guide you to the cleaning of bathrooms, toilets, and showers. Toolbox talk should be held with physical distancing in place as per the physical distancing and hygiene protocols. We have a COVID-19 level 3 toolbox talk that you can use to assist you, which will be made available for you tomorrow as well. Additional sanitary measures are to be implemented on site to prevent the spread of COVID-19. For example, hand washing stations, providing additional hand sanitizer, provision of disinfectant wiping products as per the physical distancing and hygiene protocols. Smokers must follow the physical distancing and hygiene protocols when smoking or vaping, which stipulates that hands should be washed before and after your smoker. And please remember, only smoke in the designated smoking area. A COVID-19 response plan must be available and accessible on site. The response plan outlines the steps that needs to be followed when the suspected or confirmed case of COVID-19 is at work, and the steps to be followed when the suspected or confirmed case of COVID-19 is not at work when diagnosed. The fourth step will focus on when workers are leaving the site. The following needs to be done when leaving. Workers must use the sign-in register to sign out. Workers leaving the workplace back to their families will be interested in returning home after work guidelines, as we want to keep our families and partners safe. It covers what we do with our shoes, our clothes, cell phone, as well as what else you can do when you arrive home to keep yourself safe, for example, taking a shower. Each site must be cleaned and sanitized at the end of the working day or at the end of each shift, as per the cleaning guides. All waste and disposable PPE must be removed from the site and securely disposed of as per the cleaning guides. Workers must always follow the site transportation protocols. If you are a manager on site, what guidance do we have for you? Well, first of all, you need to follow the COVID-19 manager's checklists. It means you have to have a site separation under level 3 work plan. You have regular toolbox meetings with your staff. And lastly, you assist your workers with access to mental well-being. As a manager, you should also have a COVID-19 response plan in place to identify processes for dealing with suspected and confirmed COVID-19 cases. As a manager, you need to connect with your workers and communicate to them the site expectations and prevention measures. What else do we need to think about and consider? As companies, you continue to remain responsible for the health and safety of your workers and those who interact with your business. This includes the risk posed to individuals by COVID-19. These protocols are in addition to your health and safety controls. It will be critical to ensure that any changes to usual practices and procedures to accommodate the risk of COVID-19 do not create new safety risks. A robust risk assessment process will be critical to ensure you are best placed to meet your health and safety responsibilities. Need to chat, and who can you turn to for some help and assistance? While New Zealand construction is experiencing the highest number of suicides of any industry in the country, the construction industry has lost over 300 people in the duration of only 10 years. The age bracket ranging from as young as 20 and over 65. Work-related factors contributed to 32% of the deaths. Work-related factors are things as stress, job insecurity, pressure to deliver, time constraints. There is no single driver of suicide in construction. Cases are mostly complex with a combination of personal and work-related factors contributing to suicide, for example, using alcohol in a problematic way, physical illness, engagement with the criminal justice system, or even relationship breakups. In New Zealand, we have several options if you feel you need to talk to somebody, and I've just shared them with you. We have the mental health line, who you can text on 1737. We have Lifeline New Zealand that can be contacted on 0800 543 354. Depression helpline 0800 111 757. You can also text them on 4202. Alcohol and drugs helpline 0800 787 797. Samaritans 0800 726 666. Helpline on 0800 611 116. If your company is registered with an EAP provider, please make use of that service. And lastly, I want to add the organization Mates in Construction. Mates in Construction can be contacted by www.mates.net.nz. It's a virtual lunchroom forum for people who need to have a conversation on matters that they feel affects their well-being. Just after this webinar, I will hand over to Berbampore Belletti, who will be giving a bit of further advice on Mates in Construction. I've shared with you quite a bit of content, and I believe that I have covered all the points and maybe a bit more than what we aimed to cover at the beginning of the webinar. I'm now available for some questions and answers that you might have on the subject as we have discussed. Please don't forget that you will be able to access the webinar and obviously all the downloads and all the links that I was talking about today by tomorrow. Thank you for your time, and I hope I've given you some scope, some direction, some silver lining around all the dark clouds we're having at this time. So the first question I have is, how long did it take for you to notice positive changes after you've implemented the changes? On my personal capacity as a relief commander, it was about 6 months. But I think after about 2-3 months, you start to see changes, and it normally starts very small. And it's got a snowball effect. When you get 2-3 people on board, it just keeps going, and later on you have 10, you have 15, you have 20. Over time, you have a whole relief, and as I said, that forced the whole unit to change, and everybody wanted to buy in on it. So it's very hard to say exactly how long it takes, but it starts with you making the decision. It starts with you making the call to change, using the 5 ways to well-being. The sooner you start, the sooner I reckon you will get some of the benefits. The next question, will SiteSafe construct a toolbox talk so that we can take this to our tradies? Yes, as I said, definitely there will be a toolbox on the COVID-19. Tomorrow you'll be able to download this webinar as well as all the links, and you will find, if you go to construction in post-COVID-19, there will be a link to some brilliant links to keep you safe on the site, what you should do before you enter the site, while you're on the site, when you're leaving the site. And also, as I said, there will be some toolboxes available for you to use, definitely. The next question, where can you go to when your boss is the problem and the root cause of stress and pressure? Yes, that can be very problematic. I believe the first place to go to is to talk to other colleagues and see what their perception is. Maybe it's only yourself feeling that way. Maybe it's yourself seeing it differently. Maybe start with other colleagues, see if there's a mutual agreement on the type of stresses that you are experiencing. Is it only isolated from yourself? Is it maybe broader? I think if it's only yourself, it might be time to, if the lines of communication is open, is to have discussion maybe with another fellow worker or health and safety rep to go to your manager or your boss and have a discussion and see if you can resolve it. If it's obviously about health and safety and the boss is not listening, you always know there's WorkSafe that one can contact for further advice and guidance. If I believe that you need help in managing stress on a level that needs counseling, what would you recommend? It's a very tough one. Once again, as I shared with you some information about the available resources we have in New Zealand, and I think you saw there's 7 on that one link, and you'll get all those contact numbers as well. And I've spoken about Mates in Construction. If it's drug and alcohol related, there is a website. If it's about depression, there's a line to that. You obviously can access anything that you feel is reasonable. If you need more information, please go back to those links. Mates in Construction will be maybe talking a bit more. Maybe they have some alternatives on their platform as well. And we'll give Bahampori an opportunity just after me answering a couple of questions and see if he can assist us with that as well. Question, is there any COVID-19 plan that SiteSafe can provide to smaller companies? It's not the big companies that need to be mentioned or looked after, it's the small companies who's going to suffer because of the downtime and hours that cannot be charged to customers. Yeah, on that one there, it's always hard. And as I said, and I've recognized that the construction industry is going through a very hard time at this moment. I don't think there's any doubts about that. SiteSafe's idea by providing you with this information, it's not just for small businesses, it's for big business, small, medium-sized businesses. And I think you will find always something useful that you can use. So we were not after the big companies with these protocols and standards. It's also there for the smaller companies. We are really aiming to look after everybody. Everybody is important for us and to us. And if you need any information and you're a SiteSafe member, you will know we have Ask an Advisor that you can contact and always get some information if you need or required to. See if we can take another question. It's quite a long question. Let me just quickly see the essence of this. Also a good question. COVID-19 might reduce some working hours for builders, and this might be stressful. Definitely. Different working conditions, freedom on site, no longer be the same. Yes. What will be the best stress management strategy? I reckon on this one, it's about knowledge and understanding actually why we're doing it. We are not doing these principles, and neither is government doing these principles, and neither will your company be doing these principles where you will be sitting 2 meters or 1 meter away from one another when you're having your lunch breaks. It's not to divide anybody. This is about the present time. This is the condition we are in. This is the pandemic that we need to manage at this moment in time. I think if people understand why we're doing it, it will be one of the best tools we can use to manage COVID-19. If people understand their role, their responsibility, I think the attitude will be more positive. If we make people aware that we do understand and we're not trying to separate from one another, we're not trying to ignore one another. It's not the intention of this. This is about dealing with the situation, making other people feel safe by complying to the rules and instructions that your company will put down there for you, and making sure that we take care of one another. And if it means we have to separate for the next weeks, months, how long it takes, we don't know. We just need to do that, and we all need to participate. It comes back to that participation part. Are there any repercussions if employers don't follow the rules set out around workplace hygiene? So as you know, and as I said already, these protocols and standards will be the how-to. I don't think there's any company out there that will not be on board with this, because we all have that responsibility. Nobody wants to see us going back to alert level 4. If there's, when you get back to work, and if you get back to work, I believe the starting point will be the managers or the site supervisors to have briefings and toolboxes, and to get everybody on board and exactly understand what we all need to do. And if there's any concern, or maybe the manager do not focus on workplace hygiene, is to raise those concerns and see how you can collectively get the right equipment, the right tools, the right procedures at your site. Yes, some companies will provide more mental health services. And as I said, if you have EAP and your company belonging to one, and you have access to a counselor that you can speak. Some companies have 15 minutes, 30 minutes time that you can speak to a social worker, psychiatrist. Please make use of those services and whatever is available for you. Are there any apps that you can download on your phones to assist with well-being? Yes, definitely. If you are site safe, there's an application that you can download, and you can also get links to health and safety manuals. It guides you to asking an advisor. So heaps of information. And as I said, tomorrow you'll be able to download a lot of links taking you to the construction COVID-19 health and safety, the policies and the standards that we have out there. And there's heaps of information, and you just have to click on a link and it will take you to the site. Normally it's a one-pager with very detailed information. The best we know, obviously it might change as we move out of level 3 to level 2, and we will be continuing updating you on that. Sorry, I'm just quickly seeing if I can do another question or two because I'm already over my time. Any changes in slides? I'm not 100% sure if I understand what you mean. Maybe if you can just flick me another question to explain that question there. Yeah. Let's do another 2 or 3 questions. This situation about COVID-19 can heal. Ooh, let us forget the pandemic mentally and let us go back to normal life fast. And how long do you think this will affect us? Whew. Yes, that's a hard one for me to answer because I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. What I can tell you is that COVID-19 will, and the effects of COVID-19 will be around. Obviously, some companies and industries are saying years, some are saying 2 years. So it's a really hard one for me to focus on. But I think the intention of today's mental well-being is, beside the fact that we have COVID-19 at this moment, we still need to think about our mental health, even if everything is working 100% in your private life or at work. You need to take care of your mental health. You don't just look at your mental health when it breaks. It's like a vehicle. You don't just service your car when it breaks. It shouldn't be like that. You should be maintaining it and servicing it. And your brain and your body is the same. Don't wait for it to break before you want to fix it. Continually nurture your body. Give it a good nutrition. Exercise. Start engaging with other workers and see what you as a team at your company can do to engage with one another. Next question, are you aware of any resources to be able to guarantee access to sanitation, cleaning materials and volumes of PPE? There is a cleaning guide on cleaning your PPE, and obviously if you're using a vehicle or plant and your personal equipment that you will use, maybe for example your cell phone, that will be available. And as I said, unfortunately I didn't have the time to go in all the details. I just attempted to give everybody an overview of everything. With the links coming tomorrow, you will be able to access that, and I'm sure you'll find all the answers to those questions. Interesting question. How many people have viewed today? We were actually overwhelmed. As far as I know, around 650 people have registered. As to the official that maybe have joined after, I cannot confirm, but an enormous turn up for this webinar, and really, as Brett said, just showing your commitment to looking after your health and safety and your mental health. Last question, if I can. So far as some of us could work from home, I have found myself that my productivity has decreased compared with before. I'm not sure if it's a kind of stress signal. Um, and to be honest with you, mine is the opposite. I can't wait to get back to work because I think I work a bit less there. We've been working quite full on at home, and because you're always available and open, I don't think you should see it as a sign of stress. How do you feel about work? Ask yourself the question: if you're working at home, are you negative to start? Are you engaged? Are you positive about it? And I think that will give you a bit of an idea as to whether is it a decrease compared to before, or is it just because of the circumstances you are finding yourself in? I think that's enough questions for me for today. If you have any other questions, I'm going to request that you put them for me in the question answer box. Continue with them, and they will be forwarded to me, and I will answer them. There's a lot of questions that are very similar, and I will attempt to answer them all and have them available online for you tomorrow. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Barampore Beleti from Mason Construction for the time that he requested also this webinar. So welcome, Barampore.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Roland. Thanks for that, and thanks for everyone in regards to staying in tune. Really awesome stuff, Roland, and really parallels a lot of the things that we've been doing. So very quickly, in the time that we have left, just wanted to introduce myself. Obviously, my name's B from Mates in Construction, and we provide suicide prevention and mental wellbeing training on construction sites in Auckland predominantly. We've been going since October last year, and yeah, I'll get into a little bit more of that, but I've just got very quickly, I just want to share my screen here and see if that works, and then see if we can get going. I've just got a very quick presentation that I want to talk, which actually is very much in line with what Roland was talking about in regards to having some actual tools when we go back to work. So again, a little bit about Mates of Construction. We've been going since October last year. It was originally derived in Australia. So Mates in Construction has been going for 10 years over there and been hugely successful in regards to reducing the suicide rate considerably in Australia. And it's a combination of some of the systems and tools that they've put in place. They're operating in all 4 states. And the New Zealand industry really wanted Mates in Construction to kick off here in New Zealand. So again, we've been going since October on the ground here in Auckland and looking to try and branch out into the whole industry here in New Zealand. So we've been engaging prior to COVID-19 in regards to suicide awareness, and Roland's pretty much covered that there is an issue here in the construction industry. Unfortunately, the construction industry, as many of you would know, or maybe you don't know, is the leading industry in regards to suicides in the workplace, which is really concerning. So prior to that, like, we've done some incredible work. There's about four field offices now, and we provide this training on site, face to face. Obviously, COVID-19 has put a stop to that, but we've been incredibly busy over the last 4 weeks in regards to ensuring that those in the construction industry, not just the partners that we've been working with, but also anyone, not only in construction construction Auckland, but also in New Zealand, so countrywide, can access some of the tools that we have in regards to just helping people, give them enough tools to understand how they're tracking and in regards to their well-being. So I guess just on the back of that, on the back of what Roland was talking about, in terms of some tools, we've got an induction, a mental health and support guide for induction, understanding that, of course, we're looking at going back to work as an industry. What does that look like now, and some of the fears and anxieties that some of our workers will have in regards to coming back. Now, I know that predominantly health and safety in terms of the physical aspects are very well covered, but also just to talk of what Roland was saying, the other part of that is how are we doing internally, and so we've come up with it's a guide for induction, and if you can see the slide, I'll just take you through that. and hopefully we can see what's going on there. So obviously, mates in construction, our motto is mates talking to mates. It's about increasing the capacity for people on the ground to actually understand, one, when someone isn't traveling too well, and also two, what they can do about that. So we are constantly opening up forums of discussion and talk. As you know, the construction industry in New Zealand is male dominated, so talking is probably not a most natural thing. It certainly wasn't for me, but it's time to actually send that message out. It's so important now, if not before, to actually have those conversations. So you'll see there, the induction will give you the resources to have those conversations. So practical tips on how to have those conversations, where to find the information that they need to find, and just giving people a place to be able to express how they feel, and some of the internal workings that they're thinking that are causing that anxiety and what to do with it. So our key at the bottom of there is it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to do nothing about it. So the two-step process is really helping people identify on the work site, and also for those of you that are there trying to manage people in what's a very stressful time. So, you know, if you weren't stressed out before, certainly COVID-19 can certainly push some buttons for you, and we want to be there to give you all the tools to be able to manage that. So you'll see that here's some of the steps that part of the induction pack has, and you'll see there five simple steps to help people actually manage when they go back to work. And you'll see there, de-stress, step back, take a breath, and so some practical guides, because I think sometimes what we do is we give a bit of a framework, but in terms of having some practicalities and something for a guide for people to follow, this is one of the most effective ways that we've found. And this has actually come from industry. Again, we've spent the last 4 weeks having Zoom support meetings for anyone in the construction to jump on. And so we've managed to clip these together as some really helpful guides in regards to just allowing people to have some tools when they get back there. If there's something that's distressing them, then follow these steps. You'll see at the bottom there, and engage as well. So, and again, you might not just need to chat to someone. I saw some of the questions earlier on in regards to what happens if it's an employer or it's someone, your boss, that's a problem. Again, mates in construction is part of the industry, but we're confidential. So we offer an 0800 number where anyone in the construction industry can ring us and actually start talking to us about some of the issues, and then we can then start to respond to those concerns. We just move forward there. And again, it's not just about spotting someone else, but we find and have found that, you know, now engaging with over 2,500 construction workers since October, and over 50 sites just in Auckland alone, it's really important to be able to give those messages and opportunities for people to grasp on. We found that people have been very, very responsive to that. So again, part of the pack is knowing how to spot the signs. And the changes in behaviour are really key. Roland covered a lot of those, which is great. But we've got some fairly good images there, and you can see there some of the changes that we're looking for that may come if people are highly agitated easily. You can see if they're normally talkative, then they're isolating themselves, and where they're usually sociable, then maybe they're being a bit distant. And you know, this could happen as they return back to work. So the other signs there that we see, they're finding it hard to cope with things every day, struggling to concentrate, struggling to finish tasks, and then using alcohol and drugs as a way of coping. And you can see the other one there, I've just sort of blocked that off there. I'll just move over. Coming to work late. So again, I mean, these are all signs. We call them in mates in construction, we call these invitations. Sometimes, you know, when you say danger signs, it means stay away, but we actually want to use these as ways to open up conversations to say, look, if you do spot this and you see this in your work site as a manager or maybe as a co-worker, then, you know, we don't want you to stay away. We want you to actually have those conversations, not making it to work at all. And again, it's okay. And that's one of the main messages that we are putting out to industry. Hey, this is stressful for everyone. So don't think you're letting the team down by having these thoughts. It's okay. But what we want to encourage people to do is actually reach out and discuss and talk about how you're feeling. So we go on to the next slide there. I'll just move my slide. So how to start. So we've got some fairly good tips around how to start a conversation. Just understanding that these conversations are not normally natural. They don't come normally. I think one of the biggest feedbacks that we've had on site is, you know, hey, what if I see that someone's not traveling well? What do I do then? You know, so we give people, you know, opportunities. We give them little tips in regards to how to start those conversations. We call it 10 seconds of courage, because at the end of the day, it can really save a life when you can actually ask someone. And I think Roland touched base on that, which was great as well. The simple question, are you okay? You know, I've sort of seen these things and I'm concerned, you know. So here's some tips for some of our guys. They can follow those tips in terms of conversation starters. And you can support a mate. Sorry, I'll just go back there. So supporting a mate you think is having thoughts about suicide, and again, take them seriously. So we provide general awareness training prior to COVID-19, and we give out every construction worker, you know, the tools to be able to, one, spot if someone's not doing well, and then two, how to have that conversation. And the key is really to try and funnel them through to the support that's out there. We can't be everywhere, and you know, but the key is to increase the capacity at the ground level for people to say, look, I might not have the answer, but I'll tell you what, let's go to someone that can. And so it's about pathwaying people to the help that's out there. So these are some of the things: supporting a mate that you think is having thoughts about suicide, and actually giving people the tool to have the confidence to ask those questions. So along with the induction pack is a self-care guide, which covers things like be kind to yourself, which is sometimes overlooked. You know, the pilot goes down and you're looking after people, or the plane goes down as well. So look after yourselves is the first step. Obviously take some time for self-care. Again, just some reminders of some of the things that we've been doing for the last 4 weeks. Develop your key relationships, make sure that's up and running. And as well, remove negative influences in your life. I think there is one more. Yeah, that's the one that I really like, is eat, drink and sleep healthily. So that's cool. So very quickly, that's part of the pack. This is a bit of a lineup of our team. So there's 5 of us now, and we manage the Auckland area. As I say, 2,500 people. It's only been 4 months, and our goal is to try and bring this resource to the whole of New Zealand, and ensure that everyone gets the tools and the opportunity to be safe. So you'll find these resources on our website, and Roland alluded to it before, www.mates.net.nz. So you'll find in there, this whole induction pack is available for you to download and take away. If you wanted to use specific pieces, you can use the individual pieces, however you feel it is possible to support your guys. I saw a question in there about toolbox talks. We've developed the toolbox talks because we've been talking to industry and talking to our partners about coming on board and taking part face-to-face in regards to a toolbox talk around mental well-being. So that too would be available. And if you go on the website, there's a plethora of information there, but we've got a whole bunch of resources that are there as well. You can see COVID tip 19 and mental health advice for returning to work. The self-care guide is there, as well as knowing how to spot the signs. So quite a lot of resources that we have available. So again, feel free to jump on the website and jump on there. The other services that we provide is the 0800 number, and Roland alluded to that as well. 0800 111 315. Again, anyone in the construction industry, ring that number. It's 24/7 helpline. Free text 5353. So you know we will respond in that way as well. And again, if you want to contact us, we've been doing like Zoom meetings, contacting our partners and just trying to reach ground level people to ensure that the support is there. So that's pretty much our induction. Just to let you know that induction pack will be on the website, so feel free to go there, download what you need, and use it. If you wanted us to come on board into the actual on the actual site and deliver the toolbox, and again contact us through that website, and would love to jump on. Apart from that, stay safe, everyone. I know it's been a fairly long session today. Thanks again to Brett and Site Safe for allowing us to be a part of this. And I don't know if there's any questions, or if anyone does have any questions either now or later. I'm happy to take any. So I'll hand it back to you, Brett.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, B. That was a really informative session. It has been a long session today, so we'll wrap it up there. I just want to say, in the upcoming sessions, you may have seen a slide there saying the next session's in May. That next section is actually the 29th of April, and Mates in Construction will be involved in those. So although B had to move through pretty quickly around the presentation today. Site Safe is committed to working with Mates. We have links to Mates on our site, and obviously the work that Site Safe does on site and the work that Mates do on site is very complementary. The webinar next week will be hosted through NZIOB, and there will be details on their site around what that will be. So make sure you check that out, and then we'll be running a following one after that. So until then, go safe. Thanks for everyone for attending today, and once again, thanks NZIOB for the logistics, Hannah and the team putting that on behind the scenes, and to Ronald and B for presenting today. So as I say, stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye bye.